video is going to be looking at the causes of the civil war between Octavian and Mark Antony. We have a coin, a short section of Appian, and a short section of Plutarch. So we'll start with the coin. So you can see here the denarius of Octavian and Agrippa. So you've got Octavian on one side and the name of Marcus Agrippa. You can see here, and he was consul designate, so he was going to be the consul in 37 BC. So why is this particularly important? So Marcus Agrippa was a childhood friend of Octavian. I forgot his name for a second then. They were very close. Octavian relied on Agrippa quite a lot for military matters. So the fact that Agrippa is being put onto this coin with Octavian kind of shows the significance of Agrippa. He's being shown as equal in status to Octavian, and it's also showing this shift away from Antony. So remember, a previous coin showed Antony and Octavian together. Now it's Octavian and Agrippa. So you can start to see kind of this splitting of the triumvirate. So we're going to look at some more specific causes to do with why the war occurred. So Octavian obviously had been dealing with some issues with his soldiers back in Italy and then sort of in that area. Antony's in the east and Lepidus is stuck in Africa. So Octavian returns to Rome and the Senate decides to vote him some honours, which is lovely, good for him. And Octavian then makes some speeches to the Senate and to the people, and then importantly he writes these speeches down and has them published. So we're sort of seeing examples here of Octavian using rhetoric and also propaganda to win the support of not just the people but the Senate as well, because he knows he needs both on side. So he then proclaims peace, which is nice, and says that civil wars were ended. It's also not true. And in terms of make people happy, he sort of says that those who haven't paid any taxes don't have to pay them. And he also releases some farmers of revenue, so don't have to give as much money. And it basically releases a load of debts, which is obviously very nice. And he receives an ovation and some festivals to show how wonderful he is. So he is being celebrated. Everybody loves Octavian. Of course they do, he's amazing. The people, so the plebs, want to transfer the office of Pontifex Maximus from Lepidus to himself. Remember, Pontifex Maximus is so for one person for life, so he would have been against the gods, he'd had it removed. This is why Octavian decides not to do it. Plutarch points out that even Appian says that the people then prayed that Lepidus might be put to death, but again Octavian wouldn't allow it, so he won't have him killed. He just sort of says no, that he's been elected for life, he's the head priest, it would be wrong for me to have it taken off him, so leaves him to it. So that's fine. Okay, I'm just reading the rest of the source. So we also then have evidence showing sort of Octavian's power. So there were some slaves who had run away during the time of conflict, joined armies, were all arrested and brought back to Rome, and then they are returned to their masters. So that obviously would keep them quite happy. And that's it really. I'll just read the last sentence, just making sure. So things seem to be very peaceful. So I'll add in that sentence and why I highlighted it. Octavian is now 28 years old, so he's been in power basically for 10 years in different positions. There are some problems still going on in Italy. There's always problems in Italy. So we have lots of robbers. Obviously that's all going to be very disruptive. So Octavian chooses a guy called Sabinus, who's to deal with the problem. And he's dealt with it. Within a year, everything is brought to security. So yes, there were some issues, but Octavian acted really swiftly and dealt with the problem. And as a result, Octavian is much admired for such a swift and unexpected restoration of order. This is why he wanted Italy, because he could deal with these problems and everybody knows he's dealing with the problems because they can see him dealing with the problems. So now he's looking really good, which is quite important. He says that he would restore the constitution when Antony comes back from Parthia. Okay, cool, fine. And as a result of everyone loving him so much, he was then chosen tribune for life, which is technically illegal, but hey-ho. And the people, the plebs are particularly behind this. So again, it shows up the importance of the people for support. And he accepts this, and he also writes to Antony in order to sort of, point out how wonderfully powerful he is. Cool. Okay, we then move on to the Plutarch source. So basically this is where we see lots of problems that Antony creates for himself, to be honest. He's a bit of an idiot, it would appear. So Octavian Caesar, so this is really frustrating. This is still Octavian, this is what Plutarch likes to call him, decides that his sister Octavia had been treated badly. So as part of the signing of the Second Triumvirate, as is traditional in any forming of an alliance, a marriage took place. So there was a marriage between Antony and Octavian's sister called Octavia. Cool, fine. Now, when Antony went off to the east, Octavia obviously stayed in Rome. Unfortunately, though, in the time that Antony was out in the east, he started his affair with Cleopatra and started to treat Octavia really badly. So, excuse me, sorry. Octavian sort of basically wants to use this as an opportunity to get rid of Antony. Now, Octavian sort of says, don't act against Antony like this. Just ignore him. It's fine. This is really awful, but I'm his wife, etc., etc. So she goes back into Antony's house, and she looks after her own children, so the ones he'd had with Antony, but also those he had with his previous wife, a lady called Fulvia. And she treats everybody really nicely. So this has the effect of basically turning everybody against Antony, because everybody looked at how he was treating her and kind of gone, but she's been so good, she looks after his children, even like not her own natural children. She's looking after them really well and just being a really loving mother. How could he treat her so badly? So this gives Octavian a really good kind of propaganda coup, just because Antony basically wasn't thinking straight, I think is how we phrase it. Then the people also started to hate him, that's Antony, for what he did for his children in Alexandria. He has a lot of children, by the way. So it appears to be I can't say that word, I'm not going to try. So it seems over the top. I keep trying to say it in my head, but I can't say it. And importantly, it seems to show hatred for Rome. So basically what Antony starts to do is act very Eastern. He starts to act Oriental. He starts to act like an Egyptian. And he's a Roman citizen. It's all well and good to go and conquer these places and sort of take them over, but you don't start acting like those people because, if you're not Roman, you're a barbarian. So his behaviour seemed to be showing that he was abandoning Rome for his life in Egypt. And we can see some examples where you think, what on earth were you thinking, mate? So he has some golden thrones, one for himself and with Cleopatra. Okay. He then has thrones added for his kids. He announces that Cleopatra is Queen of Egypt, Cyprus, Libya, part of Syria, and Caesarion was to rule with her. So Caesarion is the son that she'd most likely had with Julius Caesar. He also said that his sons by Cleopatra would be called King of Kings. And he also gives one of his sons Armenia, Media, and Parthia. To another son, Ptolemy, he gives Phoenicia, Syria, and Cilicia. So he's giving out lands to his family, which he really should not be doing. And then he starts to dress like them, basically, which is what this bit here is talking about. So he's not acting very Roman-like. So this gives Octavian yet another opportunity. So he tells everybody in the Senate what Antony is up to. So making accusations against Antony before the people, hoping to stir up the people of Rome against Antony. So this basically works, to be honest. The people start to doubt Antony. Antony sends back counter accusations against Octavian, claiming that he took over Sicily from Sextus Pompeius, that he shouldn't have done. That he had broken the agreement with Sextus Pompeius. He also said that then he'd kept Sicily for his own use and kept some ships that he should have given to Antony. And he'd also humiliated Lepidus by taking on his army, the territory and the money. And he also claimed that Octavian had removed Lepidus from his position of triumvirate because... Oh, sorry, I'm misreading that. Yeah, that he'd removed Lepidus from the position of triumvirate. So Octavian then answers it. So Octavian claims, he'd only done all this because Lepidus had been misusing his power, and that, in the future, of course, I'll share your gains with you in war when actually you share Armenia, which is a place that Antony had supposedly taken. I should point out that Armenia was a quite a small prize compared to what Antony should have been doing, which was taking over Parthia, which he failed to do so. Okay, fine. So he then also declares that Antony should have no share in the land of Italy, because he had other lands which he'd then given out to his children. Okay, so Antony receives Octavian's reply. He then is very unhappy about this, kind of understandably, and he starts to prepare for war. So he has Cleopatra with some warships as well as loads of money. He'd initially ordered Cleopatra to stay in Egypt, and then Cleopatra was worried about Octavia, his actual wife, would sort of be used to sort of cause a disagreement between himself and Octavian, and then bribed one of his soldiers to put a case to Antony, and essentially it works. So Cleopatra then goes with Antony to Samos, which is obviously just off the coast of Greece, if you remember from the Peloponnesian War stuff. And basically they have lots of fun while they're waiting for a war to occur. And that's kind of like the basics of the different causes. So you've got Octavian securing his position with the Senate and the people, and then you've got Antony being a bit of an idiot, declaring his children sons as sons and all the rest of it, acting un-Roman, mistreating his wife, who was obviously Octavian's sister. Also, it doesn't mention the source, but you can have this as a bonus. Octavian managed to get hold of Antony's will, and in the will he also distributed other lands and other titles to his children, and Octavian used this as evidence against Antony to show that he was not acting in a Roman way, and that basically he'd been bewitched by Cleopatra, and that was the cause of the war. So basically what Octavian is going to do, and we'll look at this when we look in section A, is paint the Battle of Actium as a war against Egypt, that Egypt was going to take over, and that he was protecting Rome from Antony, who had been kind of, as I said, bewitched by the East, and therefore wasn't Roman anymore. And that's kind of it, really, in terms of the causes. Mistakes made by Antony, definitely. Opportunities given to Octavian, and because, obviously, with his political know-how and ability to kind of see, I guess, more in the longer term and think 3 steps ahead, allowed Octavian to gain the key support of the people in the Senate in preparation for the upcoming war.